You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's getting to be Labor Day weekend, September 2nd, 2021. Well, hey, if you're a fan of the show, you're doing something noteworthy, you want me to feature you, we love to do that. We love to get the word out on all of our listeners, help them to basically make the public aware of what they're doing. Right now, we got Matthew Scott with us. Matthew, American Living Abroad. And Matthew, you have written a book, a child's book too, interestingly enough, called The Illusion of Money. And what a great title that is, because as we know, money can be very elusive. Robert Kiyosaki said money is just energy, stored energy. And there's definitely something to it, but how money comes into being, how it gets destroyed, just how it functions, velocity of money, all these things, difficult concepts for adults, but certainly a difficult concept for children. So we're really thrilled to have you on the show, Matthew. And if you got a question for Matthew, myself, the email is kl@kerrylutz.com. Matthew, so writing children's books. A lot of people start writing other books and then they say, hey, you know, children can really profit from this. You're kind of doing the opposite here.
Yeah, certainly. Well, thanks for having me on the show, first of all. This is my first public speaking appearance, so I'm grateful for the opportunity. And children's books are where I started because I maybe don't have the level of finance expertise to really, or maybe the patience to sit down and hammer out a full nonfiction book on the topic of money creation, but it's something I've researched a lot. I studied finance and always have had an interest in how money is created. Even in my financial education, I didn't get the full answer, but when I found out how it actually works with credit creation directly in the banking system and money coming basically from nowhere when you sign the promissory note to borrow a house or take on other credit, I was quite shocked, and I think it's something that other people should understand, and wrote a kid's book about it because I have children myself. The book, though, does not really focus on the details. It's a fun story. It's supposed to just get kids thinking about the nature of money. And in the story, well, let me start with the synopsis for the story, really. Basically, you have a kingdom, an idyllic kingdom where the king has died. Great king, beloved king, and he has no heir to the throne. So the two people decide to kind of vie for the crown, and Ludwig says he'll keep things more or less the way they are, and John comes along and says, hey, he'll make everybody's lives better, won't have to work as much, you'll have more time to relax, you'll have bigger houses, and he of course wins because people like the sound of that. And then he moves to the castle and ignores all his promises until a mob shows up outside saying, hey, you promised us all these things. So he quickly comes up with a proposal that he's going to give them all paper money, which is backed by all this gold that they've mined since he was the king. But the problem is the gold isn't there. And he pumps this paper money into the system, causing inflation, although the book doesn't talk in those terms. It's just a fun rhyming story for kids to relate to. This paper money scheme leads the kingdom towards near collapse. So Ludwig then rounds up his friends. And part of the promise was you could trade the paper money in for gold at any time, but it's easier to trade with the paper money. So why would you want to do that? So he takes his friend, they take their gold plus, it's called. That's what the King John had named the paper money. And they show up and try and redeem their gold plus for real gold. And the king acts strange. So then they overthrow the kingdom, or the king is forced out and runs away, and things go back to normal. So that's basically the long synopsis. And and a pretty good spoiler for you.
Well, it sounds like the people are similar to those in the United States. They want to believe the fairy tale that you can print your way to prosperity, you can go into debt, all these things, and that somehow it's going to work out and everything's going to be fine. But we know that this isn't reality.
Exactly. Money creation is ultimately just a form of wealth extraction. I mean, you can tell by the characters of the book, Ludwig and John, where I'm kind of looking at Austrian and Keynesian economics and trying to put the former in a better light, because I do believe sound money is a much more solid foundation for meaningful economic activity and stability.
Agreed. So do you think this topic is really too, shall we say, too far over a child's head, or can they really grasp it?
That's a very good question, but the story doesn't even say the word inflation. It simply illustrates what happens after this paper money comes into existence, which is backed by nothing. I want kids to kind of take from it that the dangers of an unsound money, and also make them a bit skeptical of leaders who promise too much.
Yeah, and don't they all? I mean, that's why they become politicians, it seems, to give away goodies to people to buy their votes, right? And that's effectively what you're detailing in your book. We've been living in this illusion since the Federal Reserve was created.
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Lumina Gold, ticker symbol LUM on the Toronto Venture and LMGDF on the OTC, is yet another of legendary mining investor Ross Beaty's Lumina Group. It's advancing the largest primary gold deposit in Ecuador. The resource is estimated to contain 16.7 million ounces of gold and 2.2 billion pounds of copper. At just $7 US per ounce gold equivalent, it trades at an incredible 13% of its net present value. More good news is on the way with an updated PEA study expected in Q2 of 2020. It has unparalleled infrastructure. There's grid power to camp with plentiful, inexpensive hydropower available. It's close to 2 ports and is just 8 kilometers from a paved highway. Water is plentiful. It's at low elevation, and the closest community, which is very supportive of Lumina's effort, is just a 7-kilometer ride. With all this going for it, it's likely to follow the typical Ross Beaty formula, which means big returns to shareholders. Find out more and sign up for notifications at luminagold.com. That's Lumina, Lumina gold.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network, the information you need to thrive now more than ever.
Yeah, and I do think kids understand it. I know from my daughters, my oldest is 7, and I created the story spontaneously when I was putting her to bed when she was 5 years old. And it didn't rhyme. It wasn't nearly as refined at that point. But she requested the story on subsequent nights, and then it developed and got better. And it made her think about money. And she asked me back then questions like, but if money's just paper, why do people value it? And so even for a 5-year-old, she definitely comprehended the point I was trying to get across.
Mm-hmm. So that's really interesting that your child was asking for more. And God, if we can only get the children of the United States and the world, for that matter, to buy into this, things might improve dramatically if they did.
That's really the motivation for the book. I mean, they say politics is downstream from culture, mm-hmm. Culture is downstream from art, and also targeting the next generation. And well, at the same time, not trying to indoctrinate them. You can't read the book and even if you maybe believe in the more classical Keynesian economics, and have much to criticize about what's presented there, because it's not indoctrinating in any way. It's just telling simple truths about what would happen in such a scheme where money truly has no value and is created out of nowhere. And I think that is something kids can relate to and understand.
Hey, well, the Wizard of Oz supposedly is the story of the demonetization of silver and propounding the gold standard, follow the yellow brick road, all these things. So Do you think adults can relate to this?
Definitely. Yeah. When I was searching for illustrators for the book, it was quite difficult. I was just writing illustrators. Nobody has time. And then I started sending the text along with, and I instantly had 4 illustrators who were up for the project, and had them all make a cover and picked the one that I thought did the best job of capturing what I was going for. And they all got sucked into the story and really appreciated it. It's funny you mentioned the Wizard of Oz, because I think when you understand the monetary system and its inner workings in the system we have now, it is sort of like seeing behind the curtain, which is the end of the Wizard of Oz. There, you finally look behind the curtain, and it's just this guy projecting big images up on a screen and amplifying his voice. And I think that's a great metaphor for kind of the illusion we live in.
Yeah, so we're in an illusion. I remember somebody once a long time ago saying we're in this illusion, and people believe that there's real wealth in paper. But as we know from the Chinese and from every other economic experiment in history, that eventually the illusion perishes. So how does this book have a happy ending?
Yeah, I was trying to keep it short. So once things get resolved, it comes together pretty quickly. But kind of the final passage of the book is a lot like the first page of the book. It says they traded with silver, they traded with gold, or they traded real silver, they traded real gold, they traded real things. It was all uncontrolled, yet it all worked so smoothly. For they all understood, when the money is sound, then things stay pretty good. So quite quickly resolves, but it's a happy ending.
All right. Well, we like happy endings, just like Hollywood. It reminds me of this movie, The Player, with Timothy Robbins. And it's like at the end, this guy is pitching a story to him, basically about his life and the murders that he committed, the murder that he committed. And Tim Robbins says he's gotten away with it. He says, "Hey, can you give me a happy ending?" And he says, "Sure, I can." He says, "Well, good. I'll put you on with the legal, and you got a deal here." And happy endings are always good, especially for children. You don't want to traumatize them too much. Well, Matthew, so when can we expect to see the book?
I'm releasing it I'm launching a Kickstarter campaign on September 7th that runs until the end of September. The Kickstarter will have early bird deals for the people who sign up and back the project in the first couple days. I set a fairly modest goal, so the book should get published through Kickstarter, or I should raise enough funds for the first print. And I'm going to order extras right away, and it'll be available on Amazon probably around November. But it's great if you're interested in the project. If you have kids you want to teach about sound money, it makes a great gift. Combine it with maybe a silver coin, or if you really want to shell out a little gold coin, teach them about sound money, get them thinking. Back the Kickstarter. So make sure I get enough money for the first print. And yeah.
All right. Well, you send us a link to the Kickstarter campaign once it's up, please. It's only 5 days from now, and we will be sure to put it on the site. And hopefully all of you out there will check out this book. If you got kids, hey, maybe it'll help a little preschool indoctrination where kids actually learn the truth about the monetary system in an entertaining and non-threatening way that will make them accept it and hopefully become our real money, sound money advocates of the future. We need to get those people in line now, because we've got school indoctrination, Keynesianism, all these things, and maybe it'll correspond with the collapse of the existing system, and then they'll really understand it close to the heart. But that's a bit extreme, but it could very well happen. Hey, if you've got a question for Matthew, myself, you want to get the link, just send me an email to KL@kerrylutz.com. Put in the subject line illusions, and we will make sure that you get the link. And Matthew, appreciate you coming on. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, make sure you send me a copy once we get the book.
Will do.
We'll review it and talk about it on the show.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network. Now, more than ever.